get your official predictions. We'll get into that tomorrow. What do you hope happens for the Cowboys tomorrow in the draft? That is hopefully somewhat reasonable. Like, I'm not going to say you have to pick somebody that's only projected at 26 or later. You can project a little bit, but don't tell me, like, I hope we get C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I hope they trade up and get Will Anderson. Are you saying I can't hope for that? Because
think you
now you're
have the
defeating
capital
purpose
to make that happen. Something maybe a little bit more realistic, because there's a player on the board that I know you like that I do believe is realistic.
Okay, all right. But Will Anderson, just completely not realistic.
I'm going to say no. Unless they come out with an announcement tonight that Will Anderson is only going to play 3 years of football and then retire, then maybe you got a shot.
It sounds bad. It's not sexy at all. This isn't sexy at all.
Okay.
I hope they get an offensive lineman. I hope that they get an offensive lineman that secures the left guard spot so Tyler can move out to the left and move on about our business and protect Dak up the middle. Because
You're thinking about Avila out of TCU, or do you have somebody else specific that you would like, or just addressing offensive line?
Offensive line is the key there. But this morning, listening to Zach Walchuk, he has, I think it was Darnell Wright was the guy that he hopes for. I think that's the one. So that would be nice if something like that happened.
Okay.
Or Will McDonald, maybe Will McDonald, the Iowa State defensive end. But I thought it was Darnell Wright was what he wanted there. But there are a lot of options. I want to keep the offensive line. If Joey Porter Jr. was there, I'm all in.
Okay.
Because now, think about this for a second. You still have Jordan Lewis. All right? So that's your slot corner, unless you're just no, Deron Bland has stolen that.
Yeah.
You got Diggs on the outside. Gilmore has the potential of getting hurt. And if Gilmore or Diggs, let's say Diggs was to get hurt.
Oh, God.
I feel very confident sliding Joey Porter Jr. back out there alongside Bland and Gilmore.
Man, I do not hate the cornerback group of Diggs, Gilmore, Bland, Lewis, and Porter. Holy smokes.
He's built 100% to play in Dan Quinn's defense.
I think you got a shot at him.
I think, to your point, we haven't talked enough about the lack of depth for the future cornerback position. Are you going to give Diggs the big contract? They probably will.
Yes.
But Gilmore's at the end of his career. The reason you got Gilmore for what seems like a really cheap price is a lot of the NFL thinks he's done. You believe you can still get another year, maybe 2 years out of him.
And Lewis is up after this year.
So you just start looking at it and you go, hey, I get it. Right now it looks pretty good. But if you were to draft a guy that you really like and he's only having to be, let's just say, your third or fourth corner to start off his rookie year, that kind of gives him a little bit of growth to then his second year. If, let's just say, Gilmore is done and you're like, gosh, he wasn't as great as we thought, he just jumps into that number 2 cornerback spot. So I really like the Cowboys looking at corner up in this draft because I can't trust Kelvin Joseph, and Nashawn Wright doesn't look like the guy that he looks like the guy they completely and totally overdrafted. He was considered a 7th round undrafted player, and it looks like that's what they did in the 3rd round.
I think that's the player I was talking about. I think
that's the one I really want.
I think you've got a shot. There are some rumblings that he has, slid is a relative term, from mid-first rounder to maybe closer to your wheelhouse. And part of the reason is Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State, Deonte Banks from Maryland. There are multiple teams that apparently have one, if not both of them, ahead of Porter on the board. So you might get into an instance where you're starting to get to 21, 22, and if Porter is still on the board, I think you will be very fired up.
Fired up. There's no way I really don't want them to move up for anybody.
I don't want them to trade up.
I don't want to trade up for anybody.
Agreed.
Mostly because, as we talked about last week, they are in a position where they don't need all of the draft picks. It makes sense that hey, if I can swing a 5th rounder and my first swap, then I can do something like that. But they are in position where they have only a limited number of roster spots. Yeah. And they got to make sure that they have the best talent there. So that is a good option that the Cowboys have. If you're a team that's bad, if you're a team like, who was the worst team in the NFL last year?
Maybe the Bears are.
If you're the Bears, you need picks. But the Cowboys at this point need quality picks.
If I told you the jump to 23, all right, let's say we get to 23, Porter's still there. Cost you your 4th rounder. Is that where you start maybe accepting
That's probably it.
Okay.
I have to have somebody in my room tell me you have to have him.
Gotcha.
And I'll do it.
All right. From the 210-972-214, I want Bijan Robinson. I'm going to take you to cut number 1 right here. I want you to listen to this. Does it impact your thoughts about Bijan Robinson when he talks about the one quarterback he would like to play with?
You cannot answer Patrick Mahomes in this, okay? If you could pick any quarterback in the NFL to line up with and go play with, who would it be?
There's a lot of great quarterbacks.
You got to pick one, and you can't say Patrick.
Jalen Hurts.
Nice. Hey.
Yeah.
Why?
Corey looks so mad.
Why?
I would say if you think about the history of the guy who can run and pass, those guys get so many more open lanes. And I just think of Alfred Morris for the 1 year with, and in the rest of his career, he was below average.
Yeah.
But that 1 year and I get, Jalen Hurts is very different than Griffin, but I can get that they have to have a guy who almost isn't playing defense. He just has to watch Jalen Hurts as he possibly drops back. He can't really attack. He just has to kind of watch and wait, and that probably helps you out a lot when you hit a hole that guy is like, I'm not even really attacking that hole because I have to sit back and watch the quarterback to make sure he doesn't have the ball.
What year was Robert Griffin's rookie year? Was it 12?
12 or 13.
Rookie year, 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns. Next year, 1,207 touchdowns. Next year, 1,008. RG3's done, and then it's 751.
I know what you said.
It sounded like he was saying 1,200 yards, but it sounded like you said 1,207 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
We should definitely.
Yeah.
You know what? I changed my mind. Let's trade up and figure it out.
Yeah, and then RG3's done, and it drops to 700 yards.
I'm sure you'll talk about this on Friday, but how much, I don't want to say I'm in love with this person, but how much at like 58 would Antonio Johnson help out the Dallas Cowboys?
I think
Texas A&M safety.
No, I think that's, in terms of value, I would absolutely support that.
How are the Cowboys with safety contracts right now?
Good.
We're good.
Yeah. So they're all veterans. They're all locked up, and they all fit specifically what Dan Quinn wants. Like they all have a very specific purpose for what they're doing. So if you're drafting there, you're not seeing that guy. That's why I wouldn't say a first-round pick is going to be safety, because they're not playing this year.
I knew first round, but I was just wondering, maybe you just wait till 5th or 6th round to add depth there.
And they might.
That's what they do usually.
And that's what people who are asking about a quarterback, I think best case scenario, you're looking at a late round pick there as well. And you could absolutely get Antonio Johnson in the 2nd round. I would wonder about potentially, I said good value. That's probably not the case. I just really like him. I think maybe he lingers into that 3rd round even, perhaps.
Johnson does?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think you got a shot there. I do want to say I agree with something that you said, Corey, the most. I do not want to trade up, because I saw somebody who's like, hey, let's trade up to 17. It'll cost you your 3rd round pick. It would actually probably cost you your 3rd and your 4th round pick. And I like Bijan Robinson a lot. I'm not interested in that move. If he's there at 26, I do believe they will take him.
And they desperately need a running back out of this draft.
I think they do too, for
Tony
sure.
Pollard is a little bit older. I get the wear and tear isn't on his body, but he's coming off a major injury.
And he's on a 1 year. He's on a franchise.
You would like to, in a salary cap world, have your running back making $3 million or less. And so in a salary cap world, it doesn't make sense to then try to extend Pollard to like an 8 to 12 year contract when he starts getting close to 30 years old. It's just a bad idea. We've seen it play out recently. And so I do think whether it's 2nd round through the 5th round, whoever you get as your running back really needs to be your featured running back from 2024 through 2028.
I know, Kevin, like, we have some really good dudes on this team right now, like good people. If Jalen Carter was to slide out of the top 10, out of the top 15. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Sure.
But let's say that does. The reason I would make a move to go get him is because that would be the humbling experience moment. I lost out, top 10. I lost out top 5. I got humbled. Or if he fell to you at 26, that would be the most glorious thing. But that dude right there would be a game changer.
Humble Kelvin Joseph.
That is true. I will tell you this, though. Kelvin Joseph, there's a lot of projection on that talent. That's a dude who started 9 games. For Jalen Carter, I will tell you this. You mentioned past 15. The reason why past 15 is important is that's when you can trade your first and second to move up. Now, that's a steep price. I think you can make an argument Jalen Carter is the best talent in this draft. And if you don't think he's the best talent, he's top 3 to 5 talent. But I think I've come around to y'all's way of thinking of it feels unlikely he drops out of the top 10.
Yeah.
But if he did.
Yeah, you're asking, what do I hope?
Yeah.
And I would hope that would happen because in my mind, and Mike might be right, I never for once thought that Kelvin Joseph was that high of there was a lot of questions about him. But with Jalen Carter, there's still questions, but the talent is it's unreal.
And people are asking about Devon Achane as well. That's somebody from Texas A&M. I think you could see him pop up in the 3rd round if you're interested.
Little dude.
Yes, he is a little dude. I just don't know when you said you need your feature back for 24 and beyond.
He would be more. You're drafting the next Tony Pollard. I haven't seen him be a feature back, so I just don't know. Maybe not.